a problem with a player being asked or looked at as the most valuable player when he dominates the ball on one end of the court, and we just focus on what he does offensively. We have to look at him on both sides of the ball. And I'm not saying he don't play defense, but he doesn't play it to the same level. Dominate the ball that much on the on offense, then you have to show some dominance on the defensive end. And that's what I like about guys like a Paul George.
The moment Scottie Pippen speaks about LeBron James, the basketball world pays attention. But this time, it isn't just criticism. It's a direct challenge to LeBron's legacy. When Pippen says LeBron has never faced real pressure, that's not a casual opinion. It's a statement aimed at everything LeBron has accomplished over the past 2 decades. And the real question is there any truth behind it? Or is this simply another chapter in a never-ending battle between the old school and the new school? Here's the part that isn't getting enough attention. When Pippen talks about real pressure, he isn't only referring to the playoffs. He's talking about an entire era. The 90s were a different game. Hand-checking was legal. Defenses were far more physical, and stars like Michael Jordan were expected to dominate without the spacing, freedom, or offensive rules that today's players enjoy. In Pippen's view, pressure wasn't about media headlines or debates on social media. It was about taking hard contact on nearly every possession and still producing at the highest level. So when he looks at LeBron, he doesn't see the same type of environment. He sees a different game with different rules, and in his opinion, less pressure.
These remarks by Danny Ainge were incredibly irresponsible. First of all, he has a history of throwing unsolicited shots at LeBron, right? So if you remember 6 years ago when Pat Riley put out the official team statement telling Danny Ainge to go bleep himself, basically, that was because Danny Ainge said this on a local radio hit in Boston about LeBron complaining about officiating.
The truth is, saying LeBron has never faced pressure is a difficult argument to defend. When you look at everything he's been through, he entered the NBA with the nickname The Chosen One before he had even played his first game. He carried the Cleveland Cavaliers to the NBA Finals at just 22 years old. He made the decision and instantly became one of the most criticized athletes in sports. He promised championships with the Miami Heat, then had to live up to those expectations under constant scrutiny. Later, he returned to Cleveland and helped deliver the franchise's first championship in decades by defeating a record-setting 73-win team. If that doesn't qualify as pressure, what does? This is where the debate becomes more complicated because many people confuse the type of pressure with the amount of pressure. The pressure during Jordan's era was largely physical. The pressure in LeBron's era has been mental, media-driven, and nonstop. Years ago, a bad performance could disappear from the headlines within a few days. Today, one poor game can dominate the conversation for 48 hours. One missed shot can spread across the internet within minutes. Every decision, every interview, and every statistic is analyzed in real time. LeBron hasn't just spent more than 2 decades playing basketball. He spent that entire time performing under constant public attention. It's a different kind of pressure, but it's still pressure.
LeBron being asked to do more. When are we going to acknowledge that LeBron actually half the time doesn't play that much defense?
Now, let's take a closer look at what Pippen may actually mean, because there's a deeper point behind his comments. During the 1990s, star players usually stayed with the same team, built intense rivalries, and endured repeated playoff disappointments before finally reaching the top. Michael Jordan, for example, lost to the Detroit Pistons several times before finally getting past them. Those setbacks became part of the story, creating the idea that real pressure meant climbing the same mountain again and again. LeBron's path has been different. He changed teams, entered new situations, and had more control over where he played than many stars from earlier generations. To some old-school players, that can look like avoiding pressure instead of facing it. But here's the part that often gets overlooked. LeBron didn't avoid pressure. He willingly stepped into it. Joining the Miami Heat wasn't an escape from expectations. It made those expectations even greater. From that point on, anything less than a championship was viewed as failure. Returning to Cleveland wasn't an easy decision either. It meant carrying the responsibility of delivering a championship to a city that had been waiting for decades. And when he joined the Los Angeles Lakers, the pressure didn't disappear. It simply took on a different form. The conversation shifted to his legacy, his longevity, and whether he'd continue performing at an elite level late in his career.
Has a problem politically with the president. I'm talking about there's a personal dislike between the two. He knows what he's doing there, and that ain't right. And it's there's no comparison really, because you're talking about one person maybe talking themselves up in LeBron's case, but he's not out of question.
This is where a lot of younger players misunderstand the conversation. They often think pressure only exists in the biggest moments, like the NBA Finals at Game 7 or the final shot. But real pressure isn't just about one game. It's about carrying enormous expectations year after year without any relief. It's about being compared to Michael Jordan every season and having every loss remembered just as much as every victory. For LeBron, pressure hasn't been limited to a handful of moments. It's been part of his entire career. Now, consider the numbers for a moment. LeBron has reached the NBA Finals 10 times. That alone brings a level of pressure that many players never experience even once. He's played in Game 7s, elimination games, and must-win situations with different teams across multiple eras. His career includes unforgettable performances, from the 2016 Finals to his remarkable 2018 playoff run and countless clutch moments. It's difficult to argue that someone can perform in that many high-pressure situations without ever experiencing real pressure. That said, Pippen's criticism isn't entirely without merit. The modern NBA is more offense-oriented. Rules provide greater protection for players, and the game is more open, faster, and generally less physical than it was during the 1990s. That naturally changes the way pressure is felt on the court. Teams can no longer wear down superstars through constant physical play the way they once did. So when Pippen talks about real pressure, he may be referring to that relentless physical grind that defined his era. Even so, pressure hasn't disappeared. It has simply changed. Today's stars deal with nonstop social media attention, worldwide scrutiny, massive contract expectations, and the demands that come with building a personal brand. LeBron isn't viewed only as a basketball player. He's also a business, a global brand, and one of the league's biggest icons. Every decision he makes reaches far beyond the court. That's a form of pressure that can't be measured by hard fouls or physical contact. And that's where this discussion becomes even bigger. It isn't only about Scottie Pippen versus LeBron James. It's about how greatness should be defined. Does greatness come from dominating in a more physical era, or does it come from adapting, evolving, and remaining elite across different generations of the game? Pippen represents one perspective, while LeBron represents another. The reality is that both arguments carry some weight. Now look at the NBA today. A new generation of stars is trying to build its own legacy. Players like Luka Doncic and Jason Tatum are already dealing with enormous expectations as they enter their prime. Championship pressure arrives earlier than ever, and social media never waits for players to develop. Every performance is judged immediately. Meanwhile, LeBron is still right in the middle of that spotlight. He's still competing, still being compared to every new superstar, and still being judged after more than 2 decades. That's one reason this debate remains so compelling. Even at this stage of his career, LeBron is still the benchmark against which others are measured. That alone suggests he's lived with extraordinary pressure for longer than many players spend in the league. So when Pippen says LeBron never faced real pressure, is he mistaken, or is he simply using a different definition of pressure? That's the real question. If pressure means enduring constant physical punishment and battling to the rugged style of the 1990s, then Pippen's argument has some validity. But if pressure means carrying enormous expectations, living under nonstop scrutiny, and sustaining greatness over many years, then LeBron's career may be one of the strongest examples of it. In the end, this debate isn't settled by statistics or opinions alone. It comes down to perspective. Which kind of pressure matters more? The punishment you absorb on court or the weight you carry every day off it?